Imagine this: you're in a relationship with a woman who seems almost too good to be true. She's not only stunningly beautiful, but she's also intelligent, funny, and captivates every room she walks into. Strangers glance, friends raise eyebrows. And yet, she's with you. You treat her like a queen. Flowers without reason, carefully chosen dinner reservations, daily good morning texts, compliments about her looks, her personality, her laugh, everything. You've been doing what every dating book and piece of advice ever told you a good man should do. You've followed the script. So why does it feel like she's slowly pulling away? The reality hits hard. Her texts are getting shorter. The sparkle in her eyes has dimmed. The connection that once felt electric is now lukewarm, and somewhere deep in your gut, you know something's wrong, even though you can't explain it. You start second-guessing yourself. Should you do more? Should you back off? You're stuck in a state of confusion, and here's the reason why. What I'm about to tell you goes against everything you've been taught about relationships. It's uncomfortable, even painful, for most men to accept. But it's one of the most critical truths about female psychology. The more secure a woman feels in your affection, the less attracted she becomes. That's not a judgment, and it's not a flaw in her character. It's biology. Evolution didn't program her to respond to certainty. It programmed her to respond to challenge and ambiguity. Female desire doesn't thrive in comfort. It thrives in the unknown. For a woman to stay emotionally invested, she must feel that your affection is valuable, not guaranteed. That she has to work to earn it, not just receive it by default. The minute you treat her like she's the prize, putting her above you in status or effort, her subconscious starts reevaluating you, not because she's cruel, but because her brain is scanning for signs of high value and constant. Unearned validation doesn't signal strength. It signals scarcity. It signals neediness. This is where so many men fail. They believe that love is something to prove, to earn with effort and devotion. But the truth is, love, especially attraction, doesn't operate on fairness. It's not about giving to receive. It's about emotional polarity. It's about creating tension, unpredictability, and above all, a feeling that she's still earning your attention. Let's be clear, this isn't about being mean, manipulative, or toxic. You don't have to play games. What you do need to understand is that attraction is not built through excessive giving. It's built through perceived value. If your affection is always available, it becomes ordinary. And ordinary is the death of desire. So here's what we're going to do. Over the next few parts, you'll break down the evolutionary instincts driving her behavior. The very instincts that have kept women alive through centuries of brutal survival. You'll learn why women often reject the nice guy despite his kindness, and why they chase after the man who doesn't bend, who doesn't beg, who doesn't break his frame. And if you're ready to stop wondering why she ghosted, why she lost interest, or why she's still obsessed with the man who treats her like she's replaceable, you're in the right place. Let's dive into the primal mechanism behind this behavior, hypergamy. It's a term thrown around a lot, but most men don't really grasp what it means or why it matters. Hypergamy is the biological drive in women to mate upward, not sideways, not downward, upward. That means she's subconsciously always evaluating whether the man she's with is the highest value partner she can secure. This isn't about being shallow or materialistic. It's not even about what she consciously wants. Hypergamy is embedded in her evolutionary coding. For millions of years, a woman's life along with the lives of her children depended on selecting a man who could provide, protect, and endure in the face of danger, hunger, and social instability. The man who was charming but weak was a liability. The one who could defend, lead, and survive. That's the one whose genes made it into the next generation. This ancient programming is still alive in her subconscious today. Even though we now have grocery stores, police, and technology, her brain may live in the 21st century, but her instincts are still operating on survival mode. So when she senses that your value is lower than hers, or even just equal, her attraction mechanisms begin to shut down. Not because you've done something wrong, but because her subconscious no longer sees you as a winning investment. Now, here's the part most men get wrong. You don't need to be rich, tall, or famous to activate those instincts. It's not just about physical assets. It's about perceived value, how you carry yourself, how you respond under pressure, whether you act from abundance or desperation. That's the real currency of attraction. You could be a successful CEO with a luxury car and a house in the hills, but if you drop everything the moment she texts, cancel plans to be at her beck and call, or flood her with praise to keep her around, your perceived value plummets. Why? Because your behavior screams that she's above you. And remember, hypergamy doesn't allow for that. It's wired to seek higher value, not equal footing, and definitely not someone who's acting beneath her. Let's contrast two men. One is a corporate lawyer with a six-figure salary, designer suits, and a perfectly curated image. On paper, he's a catch. But in his dating life, he crumbles, he overinvests, showers women with attention, and adjusts his life around theirs. He treats them like goddesses, hoping they'll reward him with love. But instead, they vanish. Now meet the second man, a bartender living in a small apartment, barely getting by. But he walks with confidence. He teases, he's playful, and he never overextends himself. He doesn't chase, he invites, he doesn't beg, he challenges. Women hover around him, wait for his attention, and feel a magnetic pull toward him. Why? Because his behavior reflects a man who has options, who values himself, and who doesn't treat any one woman as his only shot at happiness. That's the secret most men never figure out. Actual value matters less than perceived value. Women are constantly scanning for cues about your relative status, not just what you have, but how you act. Do you stay calm when tested? Do you hold your ground when challenged? Or do you crumble, chase, and reveal that her presence is the center of your emotional world? Hypergamy is always running in the background. It doesn't care about your intentions or your kindness. It's simply filtering. And if you want to spark and maintain attraction, you must signal that you are the prize, that she is lucky to have you, and not the other way around. Let's now talk about sexual market value, or SMV. Think of the dating world as a marketplace, unspoken, silent, yet ruthlessly active. In this marketplace, every man and woman is subconsciously assigned a value based on how they're perceived, not who they truly are, but how others interpret their worth. This perception governs everything: who gets attention, who gets rejected, who becomes an obsession, and who is forgotten. Here's the brutal truth. A woman will only feel real, sustained attraction for a man whose SMV she perceives as higher than hers. That word perceives is critical. It doesn't matter what's actually true. You could be wealthier, smarter, more experienced, but if your actions broadcast insecurity or desperation, her brain downgrades you. Let me give you a clear example. Imagine a man with a top-tier lifestyle, a six-figure income, luxury car, stylish wardrobe, and an elite social circle. Everything about him, on paper, screams high value. But the moment he starts overpraising a woman, rearranging his life to fit hers, texting her back in seconds every single time, and making it painfully obvious that she's his top priority, his perceived value nosedives. Why? Because she's no longer earning his attention, is giving it away like it means nothing. And once something is too easy to get, it becomes easy to discard. Now think of another man as a waiter in a noisy bar, lives in a shared apartment, and doesn't even own a car. But when he speaks, he's calm and sure of himself. When he flirts, it's playful, teasing, not needy. When she delays her reply, he doesn't chase. When she plays hard to get, he plays it better. And what happens? She thinks about him. She checks her phone, waiting for his message. She asks herself, why hasn't he called? Her emotional investment skyrockets. That's the power of perception. His abundance mindset, the belief that he doesn't need her, that he has options, translates directly into desirability. It creates tension, uncertainty, mystery, all of which are fuel for attraction. Most men believe that physical things, money, looks, titles automatically make them irresistible. But women are wired to look deeper. They're constantly filtering for behavioral cues that signal whether you're acting from strength or from lack. If you seem too available, too eager, too compliant, their brain labels you as low value, no matter what your resume says. And here's where things get even more complicated. Women aren't consciously aware this is happening. They're not sitting there doing math on your SMV. Their subconscious is simply scanning. Do you act like you've been here before? Or do you behave like someone who's amazed to be chosen? The moment you act like her attention is a blessing instead of a reflection of your own worth, you set off alarms. Her biology doesn't want a man who worships her. It wants a man she has to reach for. It wants a man who can walk away. A man who has standards. A man whose approval is earned. So if you're constantly the one texting first, always initiating plans, endlessly complimenting her without receiving anything in return, you're depleting your perceived value every time. You're showing her that she doesn't need to work for you, and that kills attraction faster than anything else. Remember, women don't fall for effort, they fall for experience. They fall for how you make them feel about themselves. When your attention is rare, it feels like gold. When it's always there, it feels like air unnoticed, taken for granted. Your SMV is not just what you have, it's how you hold it. Project Abundance, Project Calm. Let her earn your focus. Because the men who do that, they don't chase women. Women chase them. Now that we understand how perceived value shapes attraction, let's explore one of the most counterintuitive principles in female psychology. Uncertainty creates obsession. This goes against everything you've been told about love, relationships, and what it means to be a good man. Society says, be honest, consistent, open about your feelings. And yes, those things have a place, but not in the early stages of attraction, not when desire is still forming. Human beings, especially women, are wired to crave what's uncertain. It's a survival instinct. Our brains prioritize attention toward things that are unpredictable because those things carry meaning, potential danger, or rare rewards. Think about a slot machine. If you won every time, you get bored fast. But when you win just often enough to stay hopeful suddenly, you can't stop pulling the lever. That's how intermittent reinforcement works. And female attraction follows the same formula. When you make yourself too predictable, texting every morning, complimenting her daily,